Every day on this channel, I cover everything Elon said on X in the last 24 hours. And here's how many times Elon posted about each subject today. I will cover everything he said about each topic before moving on to the next one. And starting with Tesla, we saw that SpaceX acquired XAI. And Ryan asks, terawatts of AI compute launched each year? If this becomes real, it's one of the strangest sci-fi timelines imaginable. Is this how von Neumann probes start? Elon said yes. Optimus will be the first von Neumann machine, capable of building civilization by itself on any viable planet. Penny2X quoted that saying, "This will be the greatest technological achievement since God created the real first von Neumann machine, the biological human machine. We built the digital and mechanical machines from sand and metal and other earth materials. For real though, it feels like our destiny." Elon said Optimus will be the biggest product ever. Tesla Economics said Optimus will be built to be capable of building civilization by itself on any viable planet. I have no doubt in my mind this is going to be the greatest product ever created for the human race. Elon said, but clearly there is a lot of work to do before Optimus is capable of doing so. Kevin Pham said Optimus will build a moon base for humans. Elon said, yeah. And Robert Scoble says, my best friend and I were just arguing about whether SpaceX is now a space company or an AI company. I say AI. He says it doesn't matter. He was the first chief technical officer on Wall Street. In terms of all the big IPOs in my lifetime, Apple, Google, Meta, and many others went public in my lifetime. Salesforce, Oracle, almost everyone but IBM, which outdates me, could go for hours. This will be bigger. He is getting knee surgery today and he suffers so much. The suffering makes him smarter, like Dan Ariely's suffering made him smarter and now teaches at Duke University, but limits greatly what we can do together. Looking forward to his better knees. It is all AI. Space is a new kind of data center. A new X is coming. I can see it in my mind, so I know it is possible. Packets from one brain to another. I will be hitting the buy button on that as soon as it is offered. Elon told me in a DM that cognitive enhancements coming in 3 years. That means a humanity-changing technology, which is why I am staying in Tesla. In such a future, is Tesla more or less valuable than today? I see it as way more valuable. What are you going to use your brain to do in a decade? Control your Optimus. Tell me again that anyone is going to sell a single one of their shares. Prepare for market mayhem. Hold on to your shares, not financial advice. I learned this the hard way many times, including one mistake I learned about just this morning. No one ever listens to experience. Elon said propagating consciousness into the future. And here's how Tesla's new solar panel product looks on top of a roof. It's a low-profile installation with no visible fasteners, and it's 33% faster installation by using a groove-based frame system for streamlined assembly. And Elon reposted that. And all superchargers in Mississippi and Tennessee are online, free supercharging enabled. Elon said it's standard Tesla policy to make supercharging free during tough times. Elon and XAI also donated 500 generators to the most impacted communities in Tennessee to support residents with urgent needs. And Elon reposted that. And Senator Marsha Blackburn thanked Elon Musk for that. And Elon replied with a heart. And Grok just hit the #1 rank in 3 more countries. Try Grok once and you'll never go back. And you can try Grok Imagine now for free. And you can make short films with Grok Imagine. And moving on to SpaceX, Penny2X says that SpaceX is going to turn the sun into a giant brain. Elon said, yeah, then extend to other star systems. And here's a photo that Andrew McCarthy captured of the sun just moments ago from his backyard using a specially modified telescope. You are looking at a large active region that has already flared repeatedly. He said, I'm going to keep an eye on it today and let you know what it does. And in case you are wondering how big this is, he added the Earth to scale, just a mote of dust in a sunbeam. And Elon reposted it. And Spain will be the first country in the European Union to launch Starlink direct-to-cell this year. Elon reposted that. And Starlink is now available in Senegal and now available in 156 countries. And Elon posted a link to SpaceX.com titled Building an Interstellar Civilization. Paul Graham said Elon should call the combined company X. He said, great idea. And this is why Penny2X said earlier that they're going to turn the sun into a brain. In the merger statement, SpaceX said, this marks not just the next chapter but the next book in SpaceX and XAI's mission, scaling to make a sentient sentient sun to understand the universe and extend the light of consciousness to the stars. So Peter quoted that saying, "We are going to make the sun think," is quite the corporate mission statement. Peter said, having your mission statement bordering on something a hubristic Greek king said before the gods decided to torment him for eternity is much preferable to some crap about synergy and delivering value. And Elon had a laugh at that one. But Peter Thiel will tell you that in 2024, that was the year that Elon stopped believing in Mars. He said, there was a conversation I had with Elon in 2024. If Trump doesn't win, I want to just leave the country. Elon said there's nowhere to go. In 2024, Elon came to believe that if you went to Mars, the socialist US government, the woke AI, it would follow you to Mars. It was the Demis Hassabis meeting, Demis tells Elon. I'm working on the most important project in the world. I'm building a superhuman AI. Elon responds, I'm working on the most important project in the world. I'm turning us into interplanetary species. Demis said, well, you know my AI will be able to follow you to Mars. Then Elon sort of went quiet. And Elon replied to this saying, Peter's assessment is inaccurate. As my posts show, I've never wavered in believing that we should make life multiplanetary. Now more than ever. And Tim Urban is requesting Starlink in Gambia. Come on, throw the Gambia a bone. As you can see, it's become quite the anomaly in this region. Elon said we are just waiting for regulatory approval. And SpaceX Dragon arrives at the hangar at Pad 40 ahead of the upcoming Crew 12 launch to the space station. And Elon reposted it. Now I'm going to read this out for you guys while you enjoy the video. RTA Dubai said the implementation of the first phase of Dubai Loop project with the Boring Company will commence with the construction of a 6.4 kilometer pilot route comprising 4 stations and linking the Dubai International Financial Center and Dubai Mall. This phase will pave the way for expansion into the full project alignment, which will extend up to 22 kilometers and include 19 stations connecting Dubai World Trade Center and the financial district with business. Dubai Loop project involves the construction of tunnels with a diameter of 3.6 meters dedicated to vehicle transport. The tunnels will be developed using advanced tunneling technologies that enable faster delivery, lower construction costs, and reduced impact on existing roads and utilities compared with conventional transport systems. And Elon reposted that. He said, the Boring Company to build Dubai Loop. Hamdan bin Mohammed said, this is a journey we began together last year at the World Government Summit. With the Dubai Loop, we look forward to continuing our partnership to usher a new era of mobility that improves the quality of life for the people of Dubai and the UAE. Elon said, this will be super cool. And he also said, exciting. And Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, who Elon calls Dirty Sanchez, just declared war on the open internet.
Starting next week, my government will implement the following actions. First, we will change the law in Spain to hold platform executives legally accountable for many infringements taking place on their sites. This means that CEOs of these techno platforms will face criminal liability for failing to remove illegal or hateful content. And for that, we governments need to stop turning a blind eye to the toxic content shared under their watch. Second, we will turn algorithmic manipulation and amplification of illegal content into a new criminal offense. Disinformation doesn't appear by itself. It is created, promoted, and spread by certain actors. We will go after them as well as after the platforms whose algorithms amplify the disinformation for profit. No more hiding behind code. No more pretending that technology is neutral. Third, we will implement a hate and polarization footprint, a system to track, quantify, and expose how digital platforms fuel division and amplified hate. For too long, hate has been treated as invisible and untraceable. But we will change that, developing a tool that will provide the basis for undertaking future penalties. Because spreading hate must come at a cost. A legal cost, of course, a financial cost, and a moral cost that platforms can no longer afford to ignore. Fourth, Spain will ban access to social media for minors under the age of 16. Platforms will be required to implement effective age verification systems, not just checkboxes, but real barriers that work. Today, our children are exposed to a space They were never meant to navigate alone. Space of addiction, abuse, pornography, manipulation, violence, we will no longer accept that. We will protect them from the digital Wild West. Fifth and last, my government will work with our public prosecutor to investigate and pursue the infringement committed by Grok, TikTok, and Instagram. We will have zero tolerance on this matter, and we will defend our digital sovereignty against of foreign coercion.
Elon said Sanchez is the true fascist totalitarian, and he replied to Pedro Sanchez's announcement saying, "Dirty Sanchez." He said, "I roll on the floor laughing my ass off every time I think of that name." He said Dirty Sanchez is a tyrant and traitor to the people of Spain. Ada said he is the biggest disgrace that has happened to Spain in a long time. Elon said 100. George said he's mad about his replacement scheme being exposed. Elon said, yeah. Doge Army General said Rusty Trombone is also a scoundrel. Elon had to laugh at that one. Winter said that's when you wipe and have someone smell your finger. LMAO, that's a Dirty Sanchez. Elon also had to laugh at that one. Ian says Pedro Sanchez is attacking Elon Musk for the crime of sharing news of his decision to legalize 500,000 illegals to win elections and change the face of Europe. He's now calling for censorship of X to silence criticism of his policies. Elon said he is a traitor to the people of Spain. And here's Dirty Sanchez playing a rusty trombone. Elon had to laugh at that one. And Mario says, do you want to know who Socialist Sanchez is? His wife investigated for influence peddling and corruption in business. His brother investigated for influence peddling and embezzlement. His former transport minister and close friend in provisional detention and sent to trial for criminal organization. I don't think I need to say much more. And Elon reposted it. And next to Spain, we have French judicial authorities raiding X's Paris office today in connection with a politicized criminal investigation into alleged manipulation of algorithms and purported fraudulent data extraction. X said we are disappointed by this development, but we are not surprised. Elon said this is a political attack. Michael O'Keefe said in Ireland, social media is censored during elections. In the UK, they're jailing people for words. In Spain, they legalized 500,000 migrants. In France, they raided the offices of X. In Italy, a man was charged for discussing remigration. In Germany, people are leaving to seek asylum in the US. Europe is falling apart. Elon reposted it. Ian says, so Spain, France, and the UK have launched an unprecedented attack on Elon Musk's X. They're afraid of him, and they're afraid of this platform because he offers freedom of speech to Europeans who are otherwise stifled and censored from being able to speak their minds over efforts to replace them with a compliant class of migrant voters. Europe is no longer a democracy, and its liberal governments no longer represent the will of the people, and Elon reposted that. France is fast-tracking to take third world country status for the third consecutive year in its collapse. While their own ship is sinking, the regime's top priority is attacking X and threatening the last free speech platform, and Elon reposted that. And as French police raid the X offices in Paris, the X app surges to #1 in the news category in the country, and Elon reposted that. Now, the House Judiciary releases the EU Censorship Files Part 2. For more than a year, the committee has been warning that European censorship laws threaten US free speech online. Now we have proof. Big tech is censoring American speech in the US, including true information to comply with Europe's far-reaching Digital Services Act. And the information contained here is a long thread from the House Judiciary. So in this video, I'll just look at the parts of the thread that Elon comments on, as well as Eva's summary. Eva says, these files are a bombshell. Thanks to the House Judiciary, we now have proof that the EU has been actively censoring legal content that goes against their agenda, and that they interfered in at least 8 European elections, including the Dutch elections of 2023 and 2025, by meeting with social media platforms to pressure them to censor political speech in the days before the vote. Leading up to the Dutch elections of 2023, the EU Commission even made the then Dutch Interior Ministry a trusted flagger entitled to make priority censorship requests under the Digital Services Act. What kind of political speech do they want to censor, you ask? Populist rhetoric, anti-government content, anti-elite content, political satire, anti-migrant and Islamophobic content, anti-refugee content, anti-LGBTQ content, and meme subculture. In other words, anything that goes against their agenda, anything remotely right-wing or conservative, and anything pertaining to the disastrous migrant situation we have here in Europe. And guess what the only platform was that did not cooperate? X, of course. The same platform that the EU is fining for 120 million euros under the DSA, and the same platform that is currently having its offices raided in France. This is the type of stuff over which governments should resign and institutions like the EU should fall. Democracy is dead. Abolish the EU now. Elon quoted that saying, "Tyrants love censorship," and he shared the entire thread saying, "EU censorship files." And he quoted this part where the House Judiciary said to sum it all up, in its comprehensive 10-year censorship campaign, the EU Commission has successfully pressured social media platforms to censor true information in the US, targeted US political content for censorship, and interfered in elections across Europe. Elon said, wow, the US government directly attacked the EU for essentially faking elections in Romania. This is pretty crazy if you think about it. The US says Europe stages elections so their candidate wins and is not a democratic. Elon said again, wow. And Pavel Durov, Telegram's CEO, says French police currently raiding X's office in Paris. France is the only country in the world that is criminally persecuting all social networks that give people some degree of freedom. Don't be mistaken, this is not a free country. Curtis said X is the Gondor of social networks. It has to win every time. Mordor only has to win once. Elon said true. And the UK Information Commissioner has now announced an investigation into X. Preston says, how is it possible that one US website operating lawfully in the US manages to get hit by every single European and censorship regulator at the same time? Are there no other worse websites in the world? Of course, we know the answer to this already. It's targeted. Elon said 100. French response responded to the Telegram CEO who said that France is not a free country. They said in France, the judiciary is independent. Police act on court orders, not political whims. Hunter Ash quoted that saying, independent is just a euphemism for unaccountable. Elon said, and they are not actually independent. Doge designer said France should be investigating Macron's connection with Epstein, not raiding X's offices. Elon said, And about Sanchez, John Carter said, step 1, naturalize 500,000 Africans to neutralize 500,000 Spanish voters. Step 2, lock down social media to silence the Spanish people. Elon said they are importing voters because they don't have the support of their own people. And Adam says that Europe is clearly engaging in a coordinated political attack against Elon. Europe wants to suppress free speech as they continue to turn towards left-wing authoritarianism. Free speech is a basic human right. Free speech will win. Elon said 100. And Mike Benz says that the Trump State Department must immediately review all communications between the Biden State Department and the French Ministry of Justice and Ministry of Foreign Affairs contacts for a full internal audit of coordination on disinformation and platform governance work. He says it's an absolute must. He says, I've meticulously documented over a decade's body of work how the US State Department built the censorship industrial complex in France and in Spain through funding a swarm army grantee network of NGOs, flaggers, fact-checkers, university centers, and disinformation rapid response units. In the case of France and Spain, USAID only played an indirect role in setting up its censor complex. So the local coordination there is all done through state. Inside the Trump White House in 2020, I screamed to the bloody heavens about France and Spain and what our own State Department was funding for censorship ops and pushing as censorship policies there. First, no one listened. Then they listened but didn't appreciate the threat magnitude. What I'm telling you is it's impossible to have hundreds of State Department disinformation grants targeting France and Spain, all reporting to their State Department grant coordinator, all pushing the same censorship advocacy policies there without those policies being set from above inside state. The Biden State Department literally announced the formal mission and objective of the United States government was to influence Spain's information environment to stop disinformation and work with Spanish government officials to harden their policy responses to disinformation. You have no idea how deep this goes. For sake, the top highest level operatives of U.S. censorship industrial complex who created the Spain cluster of the complex 10 years ago are still on the board of Trump's National Endowment for Democracy that Republicans just gave $315 million. Elon said, Basil the Great says the state-sponsored propaganda that has been pushed on Europeans for decades now has all been part of a plan. They want you to think your country is worthless. They want you to accept millions of immigrants. The people who did this are traitors. Elon said 100. Elon said said the bureaucracy corrupted democracy. And after 10 men are charged over the grape of a drugged 5-year-old boy at chemsex party in France, Tommy Robinson said if there was ever a reason to reintroduce the guillotine, this is it. Elon said this is what authorities in France should be focused on. And Germany may develop its own nuclear weapons with EU allies. Talks are taking place. Mr. King said it would be pretty funny if Germany built an atomic bomb that it doesn't need for anything after dismantling very good nuclear power plants that it desperately needs. Elon said indeed. And here's some hard to swallow pills. The fact that nobody will go to jail for Epstein stuff. Nobody will go to jail for Somalian daycares. But if you're a middle-class family who parks on a double yellow or pays a tax bill 0.1 days late, the entire legal system will activate to get you. Elon said very hard to swallow. And here Melinda Gates responds after Epstein files suggest Bill Gates got an STD from Russian girls and planned to secretly medicate. Elon said, wow. And we saw this post from Reid Hoffman the other day as him and Elon continued to go at each other about the Epstein files. Zero Hedge said, wait, you went to Epstein Island to raise money for MIT? Reid said, yes, with Joy, the director of the MIT Media Lab who had asked me to help MIT fundraise from Epstein. I regret ever interacting with Epstein. Trump's own FBI looked into me and found no hits. We should focus on prosecuting those who committed crimes and finally getting justice for the victims. Elon said, while you're at it, maybe you can help OJ find the real killer. And Reid Hoffman said, I only knew Epstein because of a fundraising relationship with MIT, which I very much regret. In 2019, I told Axios the last meeting I had with him was in 2015, but I was mistaken, as according to calendar entries, I have become aware that there were additional fundraising meetings in 2016 and 2018. These meetings were all coordinated by Joy, then director of the MIT Media Lab. And he outlines all of the meetings and says, I have done multiple calendar searches, and if I find any other meetings, I will continue to share them. The victims of Epstein's aberrant and vile actions deserve all the information they are seeking, and I continue to call on Trump to deliver that for them. Zero Hedge quoted it saying, you also met with him before the April 26th dinner. It appears you left your passport in the gift bag you gave Epstein. Elon said, that's a long span of time. I wonder what was in the gift bag. Strange place to lose a passport. Elon said 2015 through 2019 is much more than a passing relationship. Zero Hedge said it appears you forgot your March 19th, 2014 visit to Epstein's ranch with Joy. That was fundraising too, right? Liberty Hollow says they are not arresting Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's clients because they are Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's clients. Elon said bullseye. And Reid Hoffman responded to Elon with an email from Elon to Jeffrey Epstein saying probably just Tallulah and me. What day and night will be the wildest party on your island? Elon said the big difference between you and me, Reid, is that you went and I did not. In fact, you went multiple times. First time was maybe a mistake, but not the second time you went. Elon said, and as the email shows, I obviously didn't anticipate anything actually shady as I was bringing my wife at the time. Nonetheless, unlike you, I came to my senses and declined to go. Epstein tried to get me to go to his island so many times that eventually I just blocked him. Not Jerome Powell quoted that exchange saying, rest in peace. Elon said, I'm starting to think Reid actually did do bad things. Reid Hoffman claims he went to Epstein Island more than once to raise money for MIT. MIT has $25 billion endowment. Sure, Reid. Fundraising on Epstein Island. Sure. And Vegas trips are for church. And Elon had a laugh at that one. Luke said, motherfucker, you're not going to Epstein Island to raise money for MIT. Stop lying. Elon said bullseye. Epstein sent an email to Reid Hoffman saying, okay, come to island, ranch, let's play. Doge Designer says Hoffman visited Epstein Islands multiple times, yet legacy media stays dead silent. Why? Because he's a top Democrat donor and the media is just the Democratic Party's propaganda wing. Elon never visited the island and yet they unleash non-stop smears against him. Elon said bullseye. Here's one from BBC News. Who is in the Epstein files? And Elon is the first face they show. Inevitable West replies, you used Elon Musk's face, who is only in the files because he refused to go to Epstein's island, and not the actual elitist pedophiles. That says everything. Elon said the BBC is a pure propaganda machine. Adam said the BBC should change their logo to this guy. Elon said, I always forget what the BBC stands for. The BBC lead with Elon Musk's photo on their Epstein story. Their desperation is off the scale. Lara said, I hope he sues. Elon said they worded this with a lawsuit in mind. Technically true that there is email correspondence but absurdly false to use my image instead of someone who actually went to Epstein's island. They redacted the recipient of this email from Epstein, where Epstein asked, "Do you have access to SpaceX?" Seeing triple-layered SPVs charging 2.5% management fees and 30% carrying, trying to find a better way in. Elon stopped returning my calls. Moron. And Elon had a laugh at that one. There are two types of people in the Epstein files, those who went to the island and those who didn't. Why are we even talking about those who didn't? Go after the criminals that went there multiple times. And Elon agrees. The official Jeffrey Epstein pedophile arrest counter, still at 0. Elon said it needs to be above 0. The Daily Mail said Elon Musk appears in latest trove of Epstein files. He previously denied any involvement with the pedophile. SKS Cartoon created this, Elon saying, "I'm so glad that I declined his invitation." The media saying, run the title, "Musk admits he contacted Epstein." The corporate media's manipulated take on the newly released Epstein files shows exactly why you don't hate the media enough. Elon said, "Yup." And Mario says Reid Hoffman lied about extent of relationship. Emails show contact through 2018. In 2014, Hoffman emailed Epstein about sending gifts, ice cream for him to try, and if not, for the girls. In 2016, Epstein found Hoffman's passport in a gift bag and returned it. "Excellent," Hoffman replied. Epstein even offered to help Hoffman buy a private, "I will hold your hand all along the way." Elon said, "That's a lot." Mario says the FBI got tipped in 2009 that Epstein's border ranch was routing trafficked kids to the East Coast. And Elon replied with 2 exclamation marks. And here's conspiracy theorists right now, just vibing out, having a good time. They used to call people who believed in Pedo Island conspiracy theorists, so Elon had a laugh at that one. And whoever sent this email to Epstein, their name has been redacted. They said, "Thank you for a fun night. Your littlest girl was a little naughty." Why are names like this being redacted, and why is everyone okay with this? Elon said this one seems especially important not to redact. And one of the gifts that Reid Hoffman brought for Epstein was something that may strike his funny bone for the island. And Elon raised an eyebrow at that one. Why aren't these monsters being arrested already? Elon said seriously. And Mike Lee says we are closer than ever to voting on the SAVE Act in the Senate. We are closer than ever to forcing Democrats to filibuster 24/7 on the Senate, telling the American people why they don't deserve secure elections until they drop. We are closer than ever to victory. Elon said this is crucial to save democracy in America. And a friendly reminder that every other developed nation in the world requires voter ID, and 76% of Black Americans want nationwide voter ID. 85% of white voters want it, and 82% of Latino voters want it. Another leftist narrative just got decimated. Pass voter ID. And Elon reposted this. The SAVE Act is one of the most popular bills in history, yet it is still stuck in the Senate. No other developed democracy has the level of potential for fraud and cheating that ours does. This should be the #1 priority of Congress. It will not be passed if Republicans lose the midterms, no matter how popular it is. And Elon reposted that. Americans of all races want it. Why are the Democrats against it? Voter ID should be required. And Elon reposted it. Raise your hand if you'd love to see Nicki Minaj ask all barbs to contact their senators and tell them to pass the Save America Act. Elon reposted.
Who would not want voter ID? Only somebody that wants to cheat. Think of it. We don't have voter ID.
Mike Lee said, "Thank you, Trump. Americans want voter ID." Elon reposted it. It's racist to ask for an ID to vote, but it's not racist to ask for an ID to fly on a plane. Make it make sense. Elon reposted that. Jeffrey Mead said, "We should make it as hard as possible for people to cheat." Elon said 100. And yesterday we saw Chuck Schumer say that the SAVE Act would impose Jim Crow-style restrictions on voting, saying it will be dead on arrival in the Senate. Someone said, "I grew up during Jim Crow." It's amazing that since the 60s, the Democratic Party still refuses to accept a simple fact about Black Americans, that like every other race in this country, we are smart enough to register to vote. There is nothing more demeaning than this racist view of my race. This is why I left the Democratic Party 40 years ago and will never ever go back. Pass the SAVE Act. And Elon reposted it. It's time to bring the talking filibuster back, not from the dead, but from a prolonged slumber. Elon said, yes, a talking filibuster is not nuking the filibuster. Mike Lee said, commit this to memory and tell 10 friends. A talking filibuster is not nuking the filibuster. It's just making senators speak, not sleep, to filibuster. And Elon reposted it. Arthur quoted saying the silent filibuster isn't isn't in the Constitution. It's legit just made up. It's used to require actual effort. It's blocking one of the most important bills of all time. Republicans in the Senate could easily end it unless they continue to apply loser logic. Mike is being 100% sensible here. The rest are assuming that it's acceptable to have their legislative agenda blocked until they presumably lose the majority for being so ineffective. But as a consolation prize, they'll be able to partially block bills. And Elon reposted that. And at the Grammys the other night, Billie Eilish said that America is on stolen land. Okay, who should we give it back to? The Tongva people or the people they stole it from? Elon said exactly. The Tongva tribe says Billie Eilish is living in a mansion built on ancestral land taken from them. Gad Saad said, "Dear Billie Eilish, it disgusts me that you have not returned your stolen house to its rightful owners. Do the right thing, you colonialist pig." Elon said, "Bullseye." Billie Eilish celebrating the return to Irish homeland. She said, "It's really cool to come somewhere and everyone looks exactly like you." Stephanie Tyler said, "This girl really is the queen of retards." Mega hypocrite Billie Eilish denounces capitalism while participating in it at the highest level. Multi-million-dollar real estate, global tours, branded merch, fragrances, collectibles. She proudly condemns the system that enables her voice, wealth, and reach. She opposes billionaires while benefiting from the capital accumulation logic, just at a slightly lower tier. Her moral claim isn't capitalism has flaws, it's this shouldn't even exist. Yet her lifestyle is evidence of its existence working exactly as designed. On immigration, her rhetoric gets even more unserious. Yesterday at the Grammys, she proclaimed, "No one is illegal on stolen land," a slogan that dissolves the concept of borders entirely, all while relying on the stability, security, and infrastructure borders provide. It's easy to argue for open systems when you live behind gates, travel with security, and never experience the trade-offs firsthand. And then there's the hilarious aesthetic contradiction in the video below where she's praising Ireland as a place where everyone looks like me, all while condemning nationalism and identity boundaries in America. Cultural homogeneity is only cool when it's framed as heritage, not when others want to preserve it. Someone should let this poor, confused girl know that Ireland wasn't some prolapsarian fairyland. It was settled, conquered, resettled, and culturally overwritten multiple times. By her own logic, Ireland is also stolen land. If all land is stolen, the slogan is meaningless. If only America's is, the argument is dishonest. These idiotic luxury beliefs cost nothing to hold and are insulated from consequence by wealth and fame. Pretending this worldview is coherent or ethical is indefensible. Elon said 100. And the Tongva tribe confirms she has not contacted them about returning the stolen land. And Elon reposted that. You can't have unlimited immigration and unlimited benefits. Elon said it guarantees a failed state. And Pub said it breaks my heart to say, but in order to save this country, we are probably going to have to do things that make women sad. Elon said true words. For decades, border security and immigration enforcement weren't controversial or radical ideas. The only thing that changed was Democrats. And Elon shared that video. And Democratic Representative Delia Ramirez, in an unhinged rage, smears the Trump administration as fascists and vows to abolish ICE if they gain power. "We must bring justice to every fascist in the administration. ICE will be abolished. Department of Homeland Security will be dismantled." Logan said it's wild that Democrats have essentially been able to form a hostile foreigners who hate America caucus in Congress because of mass immigration, and all they do is just demand we bring in more hostile foreigners who hate America. And Elon had a laugh at that one and agrees. X Freeze says Tim Walz explicitly rigged the system and architected election fraud. First, he signed a bill giving driver's license to every illegal immigrant in the state. Then, his own administration admitted the truth in a committee hearing that exact same driver's license can be used to clear a challenge at the polling station and allow someone to vote. He systematically dismantled the barrier between illegal entry and the voting booth, and he created the loophole on purpose. It is a calculated exploitation of the law to dilute the vote of actual citizens, caught on tape and undeniable. Elon said 100. In LA County had around 1,900 hospice agencies, more than 30 entire U.S. states. The entire state of Florida has over 22 million people and only a few hundred. This is exactly what the Trump admin is talking about when they say waste, fraud, and abuse. Elon said massive scam. And nobody cares what kind of sex you have. Just stop talking about it in front of kids. Seems reasonable. Elon said, yeah. And the other day, Elon said that the older seasons of Star Trek were a positive view of the future. William Shatner quoted that, saying that's because their ancestors lived through these dystopian times and found the only way to survive was to hope for a positive future for the planet. And Elon reposted that. You are the sky. Everything else is just weather passing through. Elon reposted that as well. And the U.S. District Court for D.C. has 15 judges. 33% of them are foreign-born, all appointed by Democrats, all Marxists. This needs to change. Elon said, I'm foreign-born, and I don't think we should have judges in critical positions who are not born in America. It's horrifying. Listen to these 3 professors from Virginia Public Universities discussing taking down the United States through violence. They said, we actually need to crash the U.S. We must stand with the armed resistance. That woman has a sticker on her laptop that says, this machine kills fascists. Elon said, And Nick Shirley said, Elon's the biggest net positive for society in so many ways. If he didn't buy X, it would be very unlikely that Trump was elected. We wouldn't have free speech, and you'd just see more and more corruption. Elon quoted that with a heart. And Nicki Minaj said her most used app on her phone is X. Elon said, cool. Yaxine said, I love Elon Musk. And Elon replied with a heart. So that's everything that Elon said today. The Boring Company is building a Dubai loop. The mission statement of XAI and SpaceX is to make the sun think, metaphorically. He said Optimus is going to be the biggest product ever, and the French police raided X's offices. And if you guys want early access to these daily videos, you can gain access by joining this channel as a member, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.